Welcome to the North Carolina Botanical Gardens Carolina Moonlight Virtual Party. My name is Bree Arthur.
And my name is Preston Montague. And tonight we're going to show you how to grow native carnivorous plants in your garden and in containers.
Hi, I'm Preston Montague, landscape architect practicing in North Carolina. You may see behind me some fabulous North Carolina natives, the jewel boxes of the East, plants in the genus Sarracenia. These are pitcher plants, and for those of you who are enthusiastic about North Carolina native plants, these should be relatively familiar, although the blooms, these beautiful sculptural blooms, these pendulous lantern-like blooms are a hallmark of one of our most cherished plants that a lot of folks enjoy growing in the landscape, but you know, growing carnivorous plants in the landscape takes a lot of intention. It's not something that you can stumble into, although honestly all of us give it a try and kill a few at first. But if you're interested in including carnivorous plants from North Carolina in your landscape, you want to be very intentional about how you do it, and one of the ways is deciding, okay, what is the space it's going to be in? If you imagine its habitat in eastern North Carolina, you can imagine that it comes from deep, peaty environments where there's very little nutrition and the habitat is very specialized and it's frequently inundated with water, saturated even. And so how do you recreate those conditions in the landscape? Well, for those of you who are also familiar with the concept of rain gardens, you can put these devices in the landscape that either detain or retain water. This is an example of an intentional bog. So water comes into it and it maybe leaks out, but it's meant to really hold on, and so it has this lens of water on top of clay, and it's filled with some sort of medium, perhaps sphagnum or peat moss, to help not only keep a very acidic, low nutrient load environment, but also holds onto the water like a sponge. Here maybe 4, 6, 8 inches on top of maybe even a pond liner if it's a relatively dry location. That way it holds onto the water. But look what happens when you carve this lens out of the landscape where rainwater naturally infiltrates. You add a pond liner, and then you heap up soil around the edges, maybe use boulders or other stonework or masonry like pavers, and you can grow plants from all over the world around your native jewel box.
Today, I'm going to show you how fun and easy it can be to include carnivorous plants in containers in your own home garden. But before we get started, let's head off to the North Carolina State Farmers Market so that we can find some botanical treasures. So I am at the North Carolina State Farmers Market in Raleigh, North Carolina, at Growing Green Nursery, Succulents and Unusual Plants, and I was so stoked to find all of these carnivorous plants for my demo. And thanks to this handsome gentleman, I have gotten all of my questions answered.
Yes, hey everybody, I'm Corey. I'm with Growing Green. We grow everything from carnivorous plants to rare exotics and tropicals. We have a wide variety of things that we have out here, and we would love to see you out here.
Well, thank you so much for making all of my dreams come true with all the carnivorous plants that I'm going to bring home and make awesome containers out of. The first step in creating your own carnivorous bog is to find a container that doesn't have drainage holes. Now I know this is contrary to how you would grow most plants, but that's what makes carnivorous plants so special. They really appreciate the extra moisture. I've located several containers that will be perfect for this year's plantings of mixed things, including pitcher plants, Venus flytraps, and sundews. Now, soil is always one of the more confusing aspects about being able to successfully cultivate these bog-loving plants. Traditional potting soil really isn't ideal for growing carnivorous plants. Instead, look for a soil with sphagnum moss or peat moss, and then add in sharply drained, clean sand. This will lead you to a successful experience growing all of your favorite native carnivorous plants. I love the look of these mixed containers, and I'm so excited that I found these two really beautiful pots, again with no drainage holes, that I can do 2 individual plantings in. So the process again is going to be very similar. Just going to put some of that bog soil that I purchased today when I bought the plants. I love that Growing Green Nursery sold a pre-mixed bog soil to ensure that these plants will thrive. It's also important to recognize that bog plants appreciate extra moisture in the summer season as they're actively growing.
Bree, look at this. Oh, I love these carnivorous plants in containers. It reminds me of the bog garden. We have containers, I guess they don't have holes, so they detain water. And then they have, this substrate that reminds me of what was in the bog garden. It's like peat and sand.
You know what was so great about this is the nursery that I bought the plants from actually had the bog soil available for purchase.
Oh, right.
So that I was set up for success.
Excellent.
That's often the hardest part, getting the soil right.
Yeah.
And I feel really confident that I'm going to have a successful experience.
It's like a great way to share these wonderful North Carolina natives throughout the garden by putting them in containers and just kind of moving them around and having a lot of fun and learning how they grow. What do they communicate to you about what kind of care they need? So when you finally move to the bog garden, you kind of know what to do.
Exactly.
All right.
Well, and I just want to extend appreciation to the hardworking staff at the North Carolina Botanical Garden who piqued my interest about Sarracenia and really all of these carnivorous plants, and have inspired this really fun summer 2021 growing experience. So
it's always fun to have a new growing experience. I'm Preston Montague.
And I'm Bree Arthur. Thank you so much for supporting the North Carolina Botanical Garden during tonight's Carolina Moonlight virtual party.
We hope you've been inspired to grow carnivorous plants of your own.
Thanks so much for watching, everybody.